I became interested in conservation starting when I was a young child. I think I've always been really aware of kind of preservation and historic preservation because my parents were architects, and we would go to museums often and look at buildings and talk about how they were either falling apart or being repaired. And as I went along in school, I always felt like I had to choose between science and art. But when I was in college doing my undergraduate degree, I kind of discovered conservation as a profession, that you could actually follow it as a career, and that it really incorporated a lot of science concepts and chemistry. And I felt like finally I found a place where I could combine all of my interests. My focus in conservation is three-dimensional objects and sculpture. Sculpture includes materials from ceramics and glass, stone, inorganic materials to organic materials, which include wood, leather, hide, basketry, those kinds of things. And variable media is an interesting new area in the arts and conservation, which include things that have a time component and installation works, things that don't exist as artworks unless they're installed. So when they go into storage, they might be small components, but they aren't actually the artwork until they're in the gallery. So artwork that actually has the fourth dimension and a time component. There are several different pathways into conservation. In order to get into graduate school, you have to have a background in three different areas generally. Studio art, where you're developing your hand skills, in science, mostly in chemistry, and then also in art history, and that could include anthropology or archaeology. These three different areas in conservation that can be thought of as like a three-legged stool, and each component makes up one of those legs, and the seat is the ethics and professionalism that you bring. Conservation requires a lot of focus and patience. Most graduate schools are fully funded, and so in order to get in, they want to make sure that you're really dedicated and you understand what you're getting yourself into. And so there are at least 400 hours of kind of conservation apprenticeship or training or internship that you have to complete before getting into school.